What's up, guys? Back for another one. I'm going to talk about a few things today. I'm going to talk about a little bit of an update on just like a general thing on Trump and just kind of an update on my thoughts, kind of. Also, I've decided what I want to do. Or what I want to work towards, I should say. Talk about that, as well as a really cool conference that happened. I think it was in BC, not too long ago, and there's a couple really good talks, and some people took some video of it. I wasn't at the conference, but I guess I'll just talk about this first. It was a cannabis conference, and they had, career doctors and neuroscientists and, PhDs and this and that, talking on the benefits. It wasn't like the benefits of cannabis. It was just like they were just talking about cannabis, and that leads into the benefits of cannabis. So, I think I've never walked over here before. It was just good. It was just good to see, because with cannabis especially, you see so many like me people who just trying to think about it in a different way and come up with theories that might be true, might be not true, but to actually see some real, peer-reviewed stuff being kind of dissected, and taking everything, boiling everything down into boiling cannabis down into its kind of raw ingredients, and how those things interact with our body, I'm not gonna go into it because I would never be able to do it justice just off of memory watching it a couple days ago, but it was really good, and there just needs to be more of that, just more discussion, more real research, more, that's it. But all that takes money, and I think Canada will be, if Canada is the first country to nationally legalize it, then that kind of breeds just natural discussion around it, and healthy, I don't want to say healthy, but just research being done, money being invested. There's already a lot of stuff happening in BC, especially. I wish I could shout out those guys' names. I'll put the links to the two talks that I watched in the description, and you can check it out if you want. So the next thing I want to talk about is Trump. I've been kind of paying attention to politics a bit less than I was, because at this point Trump is in power. He has power, so he's just doing what other, I'm not saying he's a dictator, but he's doing what other dictators do, and he just turtles and just walls himself off, doesn't give any press conferences, doesn't say anything, because he knows, and the people around him know, that he's a disaster, and the more he talks, just the more ammo he gives to the other side to use against him, and he's in power. He doesn't need to convince anybody of anything right now. Honestly, that's like the sad state of things that I see. And so he can do things like fire the FBI director because the FBI director was looking into him. He can do those things without facing any real repercussions because he has that power. And yeah, I mean, like to give a single person that much power without any real, like, I'm just waiting for the checks and balances to come in, you know what I mean? I'm sure everybody is, but it's kind of frustrating, and it just feels like right now, because Trump is just turtling and just doing whatever he wants to, kind of, pretty much, then there's not really any information, and there's like, you have to kind of like, you know, you have to just kind of talk about like other politicians who are actually talking, which is a tough thing because it's really hard to get any insight on Trump through that, or what he's going to do. And I saw a video by, I think it was Bloomberg or Reuters or something like that. They were saying there was a meeting, a G7, I think G7 meeting in some country. It was like the financial heads of all the major financial countries, or the largest financial kind of countries in the world. They got together to discuss what Trump's plan might be, and that seems like that's like throwing up a couple red flags for me, because if I was them, like, they're meeting with the Trump administration, like, in my opinion, like, why would they go into a meeting without anybody from Trump being there and discuss what Trump might be doing without Trump being there? You know what I mean? Like, it'll be like they'll be just kind of trying to read the tea leaves like anybody else, you know, and I'm sure they're good at it in the financial and all that. I'm not discrediting them. All I'm saying is, like, for all these people to get all together and do all this, like, just to, like, discuss theories, it seems like a bit, it just doesn't make sense to me, you know? So, I'm interested in that. Like, I'm not saying, like, it's a conspiracy theory or anything. I'm just like, there's probably, like, a fucking Trump representative there who knows what Trump wants to do, and maybe he's like, and now I'm getting into like conspiratorial stuff, like, for sure, but like maybe he's doing that to work out deals with them or whatever. So like the thing is, like, the naivety that I see, it like, that just is so fucking dangerous, is people see these things and they just like are in their fucking ivory towers and like, oh yes, that's very good, very good. Oh, they're meeting to discuss, very good. That must be that'll be a civil conversation between a few gentlemen, and I'm sure they'll come to a sound conclusion. And, you know, it's like, it's not like that. Like, they're making money, you know, they're doing things for self-interest, and to like, this idea that politicians are fucking altruistic by default is ridiculous, and is just so fucking dangerous. And I'm not saying like everybody thinks that, but like it's weird. So I think everything just needs to be like not believed. That's my motto, you know, just literally don't believe anything, and just make up and just find things that are I don't know, you know, I just question everything. So yeah, like, one thing I'm noticing is there's been a shift in the political kind of landscape around Trump, and I think like one thing that's good is people are realizing that kind of like the social engineering of you know, trying to implant social norms onto a society in a political way, like, is really weird. And it's like creepy or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why are you doing that? Like, so, like, yeah, I don't know. I think the whole, like, everybody knows that you don't want to insult people or you get repercussions. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, if I insult you, you won't like me anymore, and that's bad for me. You know what I mean? So you don't need to, like that person needs to understand that they just should be opposing that. You know what I mean? And empower themselves to the point where they are able to respond when somebody calls them an asshole or something. And I get it, like, there's like way more to it, and it's like a lifetime thing kind of, and I don't mean to diminish it, diminish like the people on the receiving end of this bullshit. I don't want to diminish their kind of pain or their dissatisfaction with things. I'm not touching that at all. All I'm touching is the people who just try to shame the other side into feeling bad so they're not an asshole anymore or something. Like, that just, like, literally doesn't work, because what that's predicated on is so egotistical. It's like, listen, let me tell you how to fucking act. You know what I mean? Like, it is so much hubris, and it is such a luxurious fucking thing to be talking about in kind of a political landscape that's going on right now. You know what I mean? It's like in the middle of a war, you're like painting a painting or something. You know what I mean? You're like in the middle of a battlefield and you pull out your easel and you start painting. It's like, listen, the arts are really important. You know, it's a very extreme example, but it's like you're kind of like missing missing what's going on here, it feels. That's how I feel about it. And there's different, people feel different ways about it, and that's perfectly fine. But that's how I feel about it. Another thing I'm noticing is people are, which is a natural, normal, good thing, people are starting to hold people accountable in more effective ways, in my opinion. Holding somebody accountable by calling them an asshole doesn't convey why they're an asshole. It doesn't solve anything. All that does is it actually like perpetuates if you really look into it, like it perpetuates it, because you're engaging that back and forth without really actually putting up a defense for it in any way. It's just, oh, I'm the victim, you're an asshole. And that doesn't empower anybody to improve themselves. That doesn't leave that person in a good spot. The other person's just like, okay, well, you call me an asshole. Like, it's not, they're not on the same level. You need to respond in a good way, I think, like in a way that just shows how that person, or like, standing up for yourself, but showing that person is an asshole without you looking like an asshole. You know what I mean? And maybe you look like an asshole, and that's fine too. You know what I mean? I think that's the whole idea. Is like, people are so afraid of like doing a social faux pas that they'll like let themselves get beat on and walked over like a fucking rug, just because they don't want to disturb the social order of things. And that is like in itself extremely destructive to the social order, to like a healthy, balanced social order. So it's like, that's what I see, and I think that's pretty universal. It's not about what country you're in. It's just about people interacting. It's not like, has nothing to do with specific countries. But then when certain countries say like, oh, we're different, then it's just like, well, you're screwed, dude. you're fucking screwed. If that's where your mind goes, if you're just eternally fucking different than any other human on earth, you know what I mean? Like, how is this, like, it's the same, it works the same, it's not any different. But people like the idea of feeling different and better than, so they'll kind of perpetuate that, which is honestly to their own demise. So, you know, I guess people will do what they will do. And the last thing I want to talk about is I've kind of like, I guess I need to tell the backstory about it just so it doesn't seem like a kind of a rash decision or something. But I guess if you've been watching me, I don't think this will come as much of a surprise. I recently applied to, or I recently kind of sent a email to volunteer at some political stuff in my neighborhood, or in my neighborhood, in my area, and I feel really good about it because, like, I'll tell you my journey, like, just kind of, I'll sum it up, my political journey and my thoughts on where are just my own kind of experience with it, I guess. So, like, I started watching politics because I was bored. I was sick of watching movies and TV shows because they're just kind of all the same, and I just felt like I was like constantly being duped. Like, I needed to like lower myself into this position where I'm like open to receiving bullshit just to experience and like kind of live in this movie or something. Do you know what I mean? Just to like kind of get into it. And I just got sick of doing that. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I'd rather live in reality or something. Do you know what I mean? And not that TV shows and movies are bad. Like, it's cool to like just do that, but I just got turned off of it, and you know, so like, it's all, I'm not talking shit about movies or anything, but I love movies. I like love them so much that I just watched so many of them, and I just kind of ran out of content that I really wanted to see. Like, I saw everything that I could, you know. It was awesome. So I can't tell. I love movies, but I just can't really watch them anymore, which is kind of, I don't know if that's sad or whatever, but whatever it is, it's all good. So, god damn, I'm off on a tangent on movies here. I need to I need to just keep moving. Yeah, so I started watching politics because it was real and had real world implications, and it was like, this is, you know, you didn't have to lower yourself. I didn't have to lower myself to watch it. You know, I didn't have to like maintain or whatever that phrase is, like maintaining disbelief. No, that's not it. Something like that, where you just maintain this illusionary perspective where it's like, okay, now because I believe in all these illusions, I can enjoy. I'm off on movies again. So, sorry about that. So politics, I got really into it. It was real. It was like, it was great, and I watched from the very beginning. Like, I kind of planned it out. Like, I saw that the election was coming, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna fucking watch this. And I watched it from when there was like 16 Republican candidates. I watched it every single day. I watched multiple kind of commentaries on everything that was going on, and I really just like completely absorbed so much of it. It was so interesting and so kind of engaging, and it's just awesome. And I think part of the reason why I'm really interested in it, I've for one reason or another have thought a lot about kind of sociological, like I've thought sociologically for some reason, and I just like have studied people, and like, because I worked in like, I worked a lot with people, and I did a lot of talking kind of for work in the past, so you just learn about people a little bit more than somebody who hasn't, you know what I mean? That's just the way things work. So yeah, it was kind of like a natural progression. Like I just felt like a natural kind of interest and whatever for it. And yeah, I found a few like YouTube channels that I really liked. I've shouted them out on here. Like the Majority Report is amazing. Secular Talk is amazing. I really like Redacted Tonight. They're a bit different, but they hold themselves to a standard, and you can tell they're, you know, disciplined in kind of what they're doing, and they take it seriously, and they're not just like, and they're really trying to put out good content instead of just riding off of whatever stream of information has come in that day. You know what I mean? And there's a big difference in that. And maybe some people can't see it unless they've maybe watched enough of it, but there's a pretty big difference in that. Yeah, and so I just kind of watched it all the way through and watched Trump win, and it was pretty kind of painful to watch how that all happen, because like there were just like, it was just like one really fucking dumb mistake after another, and it was, I don't think it's smart to blame one thing or two things or three things or four things. Like, that shit needs to be studied with a fine-tooth comb, and there is so much to learn from that. There's so much to learn from that process that just happened for anybody, especially if you're in politics. Just to see, like not about technically how they talked or whatever, but just to see, like, the biggest thing in politics is being able to read the crowd, being able to read people. In my opinion, like, I think it's very similar with marketing as well. Like, to be a good marketer, it's not about like putting together the right combination of words. It's about putting together the right combination of words that resonates with people. And so you need to be an extremely good listener to be a good marketer. I think it's not about what you put out. It's what you take in, and how good people are at reading people, at reading crowds, at reading large populations. That will make a good politician, and hopefully that